The easiest way to find New Amsterdam, Indiana, is to take River Road that passes the Mauckport fire station and goes west. The road will wind around the town and historic cemetery before plunging into heavy forest. Without a doubt, River Road is one of the most desolate and haunting drives in Indiana. It has a canopy of trees that swallows the very light of day. At night, it can be downright spooky. You'll eventually come across the New Amsterdam Quarry that excavates tons upon tons of Indiana sand and rock, deposited by an ancient ocean. Heavy machinery produces the building blocks for cities and highways. A mountain of sand conjures up images of faraway landscapes. Further down the road is Gobbler Rock. If you're not careful, you'll hit this thing, and it will end you guaranteed. It's not going anywhere. According to local legend, it's haunted. And for different reasons, depending on who you talk to. The range of legends goes from Native American ghost children to people that hit the huge rock with a car and lost their lives. Whatever the case, slow down so you don't hit it. Entering New Amsterdam, you'll find a town extremely close to the Ohio River and untold stories on every corner. Settled in 1815, it was once a busy riverboat town, streets lined with businesses and filled with many people. In 1860, it was the largest town in Harrison County. What looks like a large yard is where a town square used to be, with at least one building having a basement used for the Underground Railroad. Before dams were built across the Ohio River, this was a shallow spot to cross. Runaway slaves crossed here from Kentucky, as Indiana was not a slave state. Countless enslaved people made their flight to freedom. Under the shadow of night, scared for their lives, and hoping for the help of good Hoosiers. Before a guardrail was installed, accidentally driving a car into the Ohio River was a pretty common and frequent event, as the road went straight into the water. That would end a date in a hurry. Very few people live near the waterfront, instead choosing higher ground. Many floods have occurred over the years, but the 1937 flood wiped most of the town away, as if it was never here. A Methodist church sits in the middle of town. A former Baptist church is now used as a community center. In this building, the town hall puts New Amsterdam in the record books as being the smallest town in Indiana. In 2010, the entire population was 27 people. The oldest remaining structure is the general store, now abandoned. It was the only building left after the 1937 flood. If you look just above the first floor, you'll see a wooden block showing how high the flood was in 1937. And above the second floor are the letters IOOF, which stands for Independent Order of Oddfellows, a fraternal organization started in England in the 1700s and in America in 1819. While the organization is much smaller today, it was huge after the Civil War, being in every state of the Union and the largest of its kind. Closely related to Freemasonry, members used to hold secret meetings above the store. The OddFellows had secret rituals and symbols known only to its members. Members were expected to maintain a high level of ethics and actively help in their community in a time before Social Security and welfare programs. This was the only help many people could get outside of family. Members were expected to relieve the distressed, educate the orphans, visit the sick, as well as bury the dead. And if word got out that you were mistreating your wife, you'd likely be visited by OddFellows and convinced not to do it again or else. The OddFellows' core beliefs were symbolized with 3 rings: friendship, love, and truth. And as you travel through many of these small southern Indiana towns, you might just find all 3 of these virtues in a thing we like to call Hoosier hospitality. And that's what makes the journey worthwhile.